welcome to the Black Women's Wellness Podcast. I'm DeJa Love, and this is a podcast where we amplify Black women's voices as we discuss different ways that we manage stress and maintain our well-being. We want to ensure that all Black women live productive, meaningful, and robust lives unhinged by stress. The goal of this podcast is not to be, quote, perfect, but it's to show progression by engaging in conversations with the diversity of Black women, hearing their stories about how they maintain their wellness and manage stress. This is an authentic podcast by authentic women, and we are excited that you joined us and you tuned in. So sit back, listen, and let's get into today's episode. I am always excited. I say this every time we have a podcast guest, but I'm really excited to get into today's episode. It's a topic that we hear a lot from our community. I am joined by Tonya Parker, and we're getting into healing Black women through massage therapy and how this is not lavish, but it's necessary from our wellness. And we're going to ask, how does a Black woman wellness provider prioritize her own wellness? So Tonya, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am well. It's so good to see you, DeJa. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here. And, you know, you have the best questions, I have to say. And one of the ways that, you know, I prioritize my own wellness is I start at the very beginning when I wake up. Even before my eyes open, I tune in. I go within and see, how am I doing? I do a body scan. I have to check and see. And, you know, if something is feeling off, if something is feeling numb or hot or achy or whatever it is, I'm breathing into it. I'm stretching it. I'm sending it light. And it helps to set the tone for the day. And I'm also expressing my gratitude for just waking up in the morning. That's really important to me. So I might be singing in my head gratitude songs or just expressing to the divine, thank you so much for allowing me to wake up. And then I pour into myself more, because what I discovered was I was waking up and I had this long prayer list and this long healing list, and I was sending all this stuff out, and I realized, oh, it's time to get up, and I'd done nothing for myself. So I give myself a self-treatment for Reiki. And then when I'm in that place of overflow, then I can turn to my list. And the people who are on my prayer list or who've requested healing or whatnot, were not clients per se, but like family members and friends, or, you know, you might see over social media, someone says, please send prayers or pray for me. That's the time in which I would do it, but only after my cup is filled up and I'm in a place of overflow. And then I have a whole practice, an intentional practice in the morning, you know, that comes after that. I have a wealth vision and wealth intention statement. So I either read that or I start to visualize that and use all of my senses to bring that into being. That's what I call it, bringing it into being. And each day, if I don't do it each day, I do it on my own. I read the Oath of Manifestation to bring me into that high vibratory state. So these sisters and I have been gathering. We speak the Oath of Manifestation that came out of Agape and Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith. And, you know, those are just some ways I have to jumpstart my day by filling my own cup. And I realized that I didn't do it consistently until I put myself on my calendar. And so it's like, okay, healer, heal thyself. So I set alerts. So if I'm awake and, you know, the alerts start coming up, it's like, okay, it's time to do this. And so, you know, prioritizing myself meant I needed to put structures in place, because I couldn't count on myself to do it on my own.
Right.
Just transparent.
Right.
I'll say one more thing that I do. This is new as of 2023. Here's my friend Jamila's book, A Year of Self-Love Journal. 52 weeks of prompts and practices for loving who you are. So I am having a ball going through this each week. So this is another way that I fill my cup and prioritize me so that I have the resources to be able to support others.
Mm. Oh, that's good, Tonya. I mean, you said a lot of good things there. First, I love what you're talking about that you say, to be a healer, you have to heal yourself first, and the output, you're sending it all out, but you're not sending it inward. And that resonates. I think many Black women where we have the list, we're go, 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 we're thinking about everyone else, not ourselves. And so you talked about you do your own Reiki practice. Let's talk more about that. I think we're hearing the term Reiki more. It's not new, but I think post 2020, we're hearing this concept and energy and Reiki in a very different way because I think we're hearing it more for Black women. We've heard it decades ago, but it seemed to be very much an elite white woman experience. But now I think post 2020, we've seen a resurgence. Tell us more about what is Reiki? What is energy work? How do you describe that? A lot of people, it's very mystical, but break that down for us.
Would be glad to. So Reiki essentially is a Japanese energy practice. Mm-hmm. And it is a practice that's similar to other energy practices that have happened throughout the world. So this particular one is a form that was founded in Japan, but it really is something that's been present for centuries. Mm-hmm. If you read the Bible and you think about hearing the laying on of hands or Jesus's healing, or there are different practices throughout the world. Reiki that came out of Kemet, Egypt. So these practices are not exclusive to the white woman. Truly, they are for us all. And you'd be surprised how many Black practitioners of Reiki there have been for decades, and we just haven't seen.
Yeah,
it's not something you felt comfortable talking about because it's seen as woo-woo. And so energy is within us all. Energy, inner chi, that life force that runs in around all of our bodies. And it impacts not just us, it impacts all those around us. So when we get real sensitive to the energy, when we start to sense it, feel it, pick up on it, we're not just able to tune in and pick up on our own energy, but we can peep other people's energy too. Just like if you walk in a room and you feel something's off, it's like, that's reading the energy, what's flowing through, what's flowing around. And so that ain't new either, right?
Right.
And so it's just putting names and titles, intentional practice to working with the energy to clear the blocks that we may have in and around our body. And so Reiki I love Reiki because some people just use it as a hands-on practice, but really it's a way of life for me. There are teachings that are consistent with other teachings that I grew up with or that I know of. And, there's a chanting practice using mantras and symbols to help us be intentional in the use. And it relies on our tapping into our intuition and, just knowing where to place our hands on or around the body to help the energy to flow through us as a channel to whomever the person is.
Oh, I love that. That's so wonderful. And you mentioned that it's a practice, but it's also a way of being, a lifestyle, philosophy. Tell us more about how that lifestyle and philosophy has impacted you, how it's changed you, and then also how Black women can really utilize it, because you made such a salient point. These Japanese, traditional Chinese, approaches have been very woo-woo. And sometimes, we uphold a very racist Western medical ideal above everything that has existed for centuries. So tell us about this Reiki lifestyle. And I think I think there's a renaissance that Black women are really open in a way that, again, at least in my generation, I revere you as an elder and you've seen it. But for me, I've not seen it in this way.
Great question. So for me, when I look at living Reiki, as some of my colleagues and I speak to it, it really is how we show up in the world. Reiki really is about non-duality. It's about being in oneness. So me, my client who's receiving Reiki, and the Reiki itself are all one. We're in this together. There is no separation. You know, we grew up in a tradition, or I grew up in a tradition where, you know, the sense of God or the divine was separate from me. You know, I think of God as Santa Claus, this old white man sitting on a throne in heaven, right? And so that's the teachings I had. And Reiki, you know, it debunks that. It speaks to all of us being divine and all of us being channels of this great light, this great love, energy. And so with that, there are ways in which we approach each day to remain in that state. So what embodies it well is the Reiki precepts, which, you know, have different variations depending on the interpretation. But essentially, this is what I do each morning, too, as part of my intentional practice. I speak the precepts, and I speak them as much as I need to, or one or the other throughout the day as I encounter things. So just for today, which really brings me into the present moment, which doesn't mean I don't do this tomorrow, but it just focuses me on the present. Just for today, I will not anger. And it doesn't mean I can't be angry. It just means I'm not going to dwell in that place and wallow around in it like a pig. You know, it's like I acknowledge my feelings, work through them, what have you, and then I can move through. Just for today, I will not worry. Same thing with anger. Worry may come up, notice it, acknowledge it. You know, how can I move through that? Not being so focused on the present, because that's usually when worry comes, when we're focused on the future, right? So bring them back to the present. Just for today, I will be true to myself and way of being. So for me, that speaks to me living authentically, you know, making sure I'm honoring myself, honoring my voice and my way of being. And then just for today, I will be grateful for all that I have. And gratitude is a powerful vibration to live within. So that's, you know, where I focus on throughout the day. And then I love this particular variation of the fifth Reiki precept. Just for today, I will be compassionate with myself and others. You know, some just say I will be kind to all living beings. Some will say I'll be compassionate, but this version says I'll be compassionate to myself.
Right.
And then others, because, you know, how many times we are our own worst transgressor. You know, we beat up on ourselves. We give ourselves a hard time. So learning to be compassionate with myself, that is work right there for many of us. And especially if externalized, we see a society that has not necessarily been compassionate with us. And so we internalize that and we lose compassion for ourselves. And it's like, no. We start within. Everything starts within. And so that's part of the Reiki teachings, the practices, you know, that helps keep me grounded throughout the day, which helps keep me connected to source throughout the day.
That's good. I love that. And you mentioned the oath of manifestation that you repeat as well. So for some who this is their first time hearing about Reiki, is Reiki considered it's energy work, but does it border along, is it a religion or is it not a religion? It's a lifestyle, because it sounds, as you mentioned, the connection with source and that non-duality, that there's no barrier. Describe that a little bit more.
So Reiki is not a religion. There are practitioners from all religions who practice Reiki. And there are those who are not religious or not spiritual at all, you know, who practice Reiki. So it doesn't espouse one religion. Now, it does have some of its bases in Shintoism, Buddhism, but, you know, if you look at the mystical arm of many religions, they're all going to speak to non-duality,
Yeah.
so it really supersedes the religion itself. It just looks to the practice, where we're not separating from, the divine intelligence, God, goddess, great spirit, all that is.
Right, right. Oh, that's wonderful. I think that resonates for a lot of us. When we talk about energy, life force, you said inner chi, how does, as we pivot a little bit, you are multifaceted. You've been in this field for 3 decades, working to help folks who are in transition or stressed and overwhelmed. And one of the many roles that you wear and that you perform, your offering, is as a massage therapist. And so how does massage therapy connect with this energy work? And specifically, when massage therapy can have such a negative connotation for Black women, for many years, it's had this masseuse happy ending, viewed as a form of privilege only reserved to those elite. Can you demystify how massage therapy in conjunction with energy work is so vital for us as Black women?
Most definitely. So I'll go back a little bit to a comment you made earlier about Western medicine, which many people call traditional medicine. And I just have to laugh at that. It's like, oh, you don't know your history. This ain't tradition, boo. Not at all. And even in this country, it's not tradition.
Yeah.
We had a big holistic movement, back in the 1800s or whatnot, before things turned to more of the allopathic medical system. And so when doctors are trained today, for the most part, they typically don't learn about energy.
Yeah.
They don't learn about the subtle energy system. They learn about nervous system, cardiovascular system, the digestive system, all of those things, right? Circulatory. That's what they know. And unless they might take an elective, or unless they go to school to become a naturopathic physician,
right? Yeah.
They don't know, right?
That's true.
And so what I just laugh when I hear this term, alternative health. Yeah. I'm like, child, please. So I'll say complementary health, traditional medicine.
Yeah.
We learn that the subtle energy system impacts everything.
Yeah.
It impacts all the other systems. It impacts our organs. It impacts our cells. It impacts, us on the mind, body, spirit level. Before we even start to manifest any dis-ease in the physical, energy impacts us, right? And so we can develop blocks due to whatever, it may be the way we're eating, the way we're living, trauma we've experienced, hereditary things, what have you. But when that energy gets stuck, we need modalities to help unstick it and get it to flow smoothly. And so, you see this in things like acupuncture and acupressure and, all of that, right? Well, it also happens with massage therapy. So we happen to intervene usually when people feel it manifesting in the body in some way, as some tension, pain or whatnot. And so, if you think about Black women and what we've experienced over not just our years, but over the centuries, ancestrally, that stuff travels with us. It stays with us. And so what we have experienced is heinous in so many ways. And so, of course, we have blocks that start to develop within our body. If you think about, our ancestors who were chained, at the neck, and you wonder why we don't have our full voice. And we develop thyroid problems or ultra sticky shoulders, right? And if you think about what has been done to our wombs, our babies stolen from us, being raped, and all sorts of things, you wonder why we develop fibroids at a higher rate, right? Uterine fibroids. If you look at high blood pressure and diabetes, all these stress-related conditions we come here on this earth and, many of us encounter so many different stressors in so many different ways. And so we have these things that develop, and we also have, on this other hand, this systemic, societal demonizing of touch, and sexualizing of touch, and so if you think about that, we all need touch. We know that. Right. But when people have experienced rape or childhood abuse or things like that, we dissociate from our bodies, stop feeling, and we don't want to be touched in many ways. It feels too much. And I've had different clients to come to me. They've been referred by others because they need to get in touch with their body. They need to feel within their body. And so massage can help you connect again. But then on the other hand, we can go down a rabbit hole with this, DeJa. We have people sexualize touch. So it's like, only my partner, only my man can touch me. I don't want no woman touching me, or I don't want no other man touching me, or whatever the story is, because we lump all touch into sexual touch. And we don't understand that there's appropriate touch that we all can experience. Right. So, trauma does a lot of things to us. To a lot of things. And so we can choose to dwell in our trauma, or we can choose to heal.
Oh, wow. Say that again, Tonya.
I got to repeat that. Okay, we can choose to dwell in our trauma, or we can choose to heal.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's poetic. Wow. Because you're making such an important point. You're connecting the dots of systemic and structural racism and the legacy and how that manifests in us, that this is not happenstance, the disparities and inequities that Black women experience. It's not at all, we debunk this stereotype that it's genetic inferiority, because there are medical doctors that actually believe that believe we are inferior, that it's because we're not doing right or doing, we don't subscribe to that. That is false. It is a racist society. And as you said, our ancestors experiencing the harms of racism, that of course in our genetics and our DNA, it manifests. Yet, as you say, that's not how the story ends. We don't have to wallow in this. There are many modalities that can help us with our healing and our wellness as we embrace this connection of energy. And that's really the key, us embracing it. We've been so indoctrinated to this racist medical care system that, as you articulated, is not trained in energy work, does not receive any, modalities to address that. So that's why it's competing. It's, as you said, it prescribes it as a very negative, that's not evidence-based. That's, we internalize that. As you said, it's not alternative, it's complementary. And quite honestly, the complementary is it's necessary for Black bodies, not even complementary. It is necessary because these racist medical providers, they don't care about us at all. And we've seen that. So I wanted to make that clear for folks, that linkage, that through line that you just described, which it's mind-boggling. I mean, it's just a complete paradigm shift. And I invite our listeners, as we're hearing this, to really embrace it and really sit with, why do we not want to listen to this? Why does the energy work still seem, it's going to seem that way because all of our care team, they do not subscribe to this. I mean, I'm giving broad generalizations. There are many exceptions. And so this is, you just really made that very clear and succinct for us. And then you talked about the other end of the spectrum, that massage has become sexualized. It's these extreme odds, and it's not that. So that is just so beautiful and such a great way. I don't think many of us have heard it connected in that way. So thank you, Tonya, for just making that really clear for us. And I want to ask you, what led you to this work? What led you to working in energy, healing the trauma that manifests in our bodies and aches and dis-ease? How did you get into this field, this calling?
A funny thing happened on the way to my counseling practice. I studied to be a psychotherapist. That's how I started my career in community mental health. And it was around my 30th birthday, as a gift to myself. My father passed the day before my 30th birthday, but leading up to it, friends took me to get a massage. And it was the first massage I ever had, and my eyes were opened. And I started to realize, as I continued to go, that I have a smile on my face on the way. I'm like dancing, like I have a good meal. I'm a dancer when I have good food, make up food songs, everything. Same thing with massage. I was like, I'm going to get a massage. I'm going to feel good. All of that. End the session. Smile on my face, or I'm drooling. To this day, I get on a massage table for whatever service I get, I start to drool. It's like a Pavlovian response, right? And so when I left, I was smiling. I was happy. And I started to do this comparison. It's like, my clients don't act like this when they come to see me. Now, don't get me wrong. I was a great psychotherapist, and, my clients got benefit and they were appreciative and all that. But for the most part, I was getting referrals from the juvenile justice system, from the school system, directly from the courts, from social services, and also parents wanted me to just fix their child. They didn't want to really engage in family therapy. It was just, here, take my child. They're broken, fix them. And it was a different experience. And so after a while, I did both for a little bit. And then the more I got into massage school and I started seeing managed care and the constraints of the setting I was in and a fairly conservative area. And so I left community mental health on the treatment end and went into another system on the prevention end. And so by this time I was complete with massage school and all of that. And I worked prevention for some years. And then I just left mental health altogether. It's as if I had never gotten licensed as a counselor or anything. And I went into corporate as a trainer. And it was at a hospital. And at the hospital, I loved that I was open in this allopathic healthcare center. I was open to more holistic practices. I was really impressed with that. And I was around people. We were known as the woo-woo office, the training and development office. People would come to us to de-stress and to calm down and all of that. And so one day my boss asked me, let's go get attuned to Reiki. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I had a Reiki session some years before. It had helped me. And, I had learned healing touch in massage school. So, yeah, I showed up and she didn't. So I got attuned. That was 2005. Then I knew that I needed to leave the allopathic healthcare system and started tuning into what was next for me. And I started studying to become a naturopath. And then I was guided by 2008 to stop that. And I was confused because I was enjoying my studies and I was really getting into the mind-body connection and looking at what my practice would look like. And so I ended with a natural wellness certification. And I didn't go further, and I was glad because the whole state of Maryland, what they did was they stripped naturopaths of their title, of their, it was a PhD level of the doctor title and their ability to practice. So had I gone forward like some of my friends, I would have lost my livelihood. So, then I started teaching Reiki by 2010 and immersing myself in it more and more and surrounding myself with other people who were into it. And so it's just been an amazing journey where I've been connecting deeper and deeper to this universal love energy, and helping others to connect with it as well. So that's a bit about my Reiki journey.
Wow. I forget that. And I know you told me that years ago that you started out as a psychotherapist. Wow. So you truly have a holistic lens. You are seeing both. Wow. That's amazing. I forget that. Wow. Wow. So Tonya, tell us, as we've talked a little bit about energy work and Reiki and the healing benefit of massage therapy, what do you recommend for Black women that as they're listening, they're like, okay, this is a little less woo-woo. Okay, I can get with this. And they want to tiptoe, and they're going to hear this episode. They're going to hear your experience and say, okay, let me try something. What would you recommend that initial something be to start a Black woman who has not experienced any energy healing work to try to experience something? What would that be?
Great question. So I would suggest if someone does not mind having their feet touched, to start with foot reflexology. Oh. That just came to me. I never said that before, but that just came to me because so many of us are used to pampering ourselves through pedicures, right? That's been our definition of self-care, mani-pedi, right? So how about taking it further and actually having someone who's trained in massage therapy or foot reflexology to work all of those reflex points, those nerve endings on the bottom and tops of our feet that respond to the different systems and organs and energy pathways in our body. And so, you could have some issues with your gut, and you can work your feet and help relieve those issues. Or you might have issues with, say, your shoulders or your sinuses or what have you, and someone can work with your feet. It feels amazing. It's something that I periodically get myself. And so, our friend Robin Bell, she provides foot reflexology. And so when I go to her, it's like, oh, okay, Robin is soaking my feet and I'm feeling the jets. And then she's using her fingers and the tools that she uses to go in, and she's, handling the feet and on up to the legs and my knees. And so someone who's had knee surgery, different accidents with numerous knee injuries, I walk better after a reflexology session. So I think it's a good introductory because most women, unless you have this thing where you don't like feet touched, they're used to someone else touching their feet in some kind of way. And so this is a huge step up from getting a pedicure by getting foot reflexology. So that's one thing I would suggest. That would be an easy start. Reiki also, if you can get past any thoughts of this is woo-woo, and, just having someone lightly touch you on or above your body and just tune in, to see how that feels. I have a lot of first timers, Reiki virgins who come, they don't know what to expect, but someone has recommended you need to go see Tonya and get Reiki, and so it's like, okay. And usually there's a reason for that. And so,
oh, that's helpful. I think that's so helpful. Wow. I love that. I think that's very accessible. And that initial, that's such a great point. You sharing that. That's helpful. So I have to say here, I'm going to take a position of privilege here. I have to first, Tonya Parker is one of the Black Women's Wellness Agency wellness providers, and we're so excited that she joined our network. We're going to link everything of how you can contact her and the many services that she offers. We're so excited because Tonya is a very humble person. She's not even telling the extent of all of the great services she offers. Tonya is a coach. She, in addition to being a Reiki provider, she does workshops and seminars and trains you to be a Reiki provider. And she does a lot of operations administration. Clearly her training as a psychotherapist. So Tonya she is one of our living sheroes, and we are so happy that she is joining the network. I also have to just give you your flowers here because we don't do this enough, especially as we're in Black History Month. So I've known Tonya, we've been in community for 8 years now, 2023, eight years. And I met Tonya during such a very transitory period in my life. I just moved back to the DMV from graduate school, had no money, trying to pay back graduate student loans. And I was working at a gym as a personal trainer. I'm a certified personal trainer. And I met Tonya at a community wellness. It was a wellness, event. And so there were all wellness providers, had their table up. And I'm just walking around the space, meeting providers. And if you all haven't already connected, Tonya has just this big energy. She just draws you in. It's so comforting. It's calming. And if you're seeing this virtually or listening on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, when I immediately got to the table and I was just drawn to Tonya's energy, it was as if I've met her lifetime ago. I mean, just the energy was just so connected. And, I told her I'm very transparent. I said, I'm poor. I just came back from graduate school. I have no salary. I have $60,000 in debt. I'm living at home with my parents, but I'm connected to your energy and I'm a personal trainer. And I'm hearing that you're a massage therapist. Can we barter? Can I get free massage in exchange for me training you? And well, it should be no surprise after listening to this, Tonya was so open and receptive to that. So we exchanged, I trained her, she massaged me, and that's so rare in this age where it's so revenue capitalist, so focused on that, to have a spirit that was like, I see you. I see what you're doing. Yes, we're going to do this. And that's how I first met Tonya 8 years ago. And so during that 8 years, she saw me in awful jobs, racist people. I was in these jobs to pay off the $60,000 graduate student loans, to build up my skill set and my toolkit. And she saw the stress. I would go in and she's like, DeJa, you're tight. I feel it, just over every year, seeing this. And so she's seen my journey, and now to being, the CEO of the Black Women's Wellness Agency and us partnering professionally, not just personally, I just have to hold space and say, Tonya, thank you, because you were there when I had nothing. There were times that I couldn't pay you the full amount, and you were like, DeJa, whatever you have to give, it's okay. You just met me where I was, and that is so rare. And so I just I know we're going off topic, but I appreciate you. And I just want folks to get a sense that there are people like Tonya in the world, these spirits that can help us transcend all of this racism and structural, all of this mess, the cacophony that we experience. And I so appreciate you. And I'm excited for other folks to experience your healing energy and your ability to help us transcend. So I had to just pause and just give you your roses now.
Thank you so much, DeJa. That's just such a beautiful acknowledgement. I received the love that was heaped into all of that. It has definitely been a pleasure. I am a huge believer in exchanges, because that's based on energy. Money is my own natural energy yield, and everything is energy. So being able to exchange in the way that we did helped to serve me in a powerful way as well, and help get me jump started. And so, I definitely miss having you in my life, but, I'm at an age now where it's like, okay, if I can get to a pool and do my virtual yoga, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
But I am so grateful for how you served me. And so it's with my gratitude that I was able to help you that time, and to see you now, as CEO of this beautiful organization, this beautiful movement, and to see you, stepping into your power and not being as tight as you used to be.
Right. Right. Y'all, you don't know. Because Tonya introduced me to 2-hour massages, which some people are like, what? I was that tight. My body, every muscles, not just the standard quads, hamstrings, calves, but my neck, my shoulders, my throat, my fingers, my wrists, my toe, like everything was just tight. And this connects the stress, the racism, having racist supervisors, racist colleagues, Black colleagues who saw the racism but were complicit, that manifests in this dis-ease. And just trying to connect that for our listeners, because it has changed my life completely. And Tonya has been able to be a conduit of that. And so I just really appreciate you. I mean, we talked about so much. We could keep talking for forever because there's so many other questions. But I want to, as we are wrapping up, Tonya, you talked about this, but what continues to bring you joy and laughter and light and healing, especially during these really challenging times in our nation and our global society?
That's a great question. Just knowing that I'm following my path and being able to serve and support others and get joy while I'm doing that. Having family that loves me unconditionally. We are the ultimate in silly. So, just having a lot of laughter in my life, being able to be in water, if I think a couple of days ago, it's like, I haven't been to the aquatic center or around the corner to swim at our neighborhood pool. Let me get a bath, get in the bathtub. Right. I'm such an oil. I'm so easy to please, We have fur babies that love up on us and, a wonderful son. It's just, I find joy in so much community, building community. And so I am very blessed to have some wonderful communities that I'm a part of that help feed me. Yeah, so many things bring me joy, DeJa. It's not hard for me because it's a choice. That's the way I see it. It's a choice.
Oh, that's good. It's a choice, choosing joy. Love that. But what last words, Tonya, would you like to say to our audience, our listeners, just your closing words of wisdom and insight?
What's coming forth is, we are powerful beings and we've lost track of that power. So just remember your Black girl magic. Tap into that. Connect with yourself. Connect with nature. Connect with source. Really get in tune to what feeds your soul and go for that. We spend a lot of time focusing on other people and what they want for us, et cetera, et cetera. What do you want? What do you desire? And what will it take to get there? So prioritize you and give yourself all the resources that you possibly can to move forward into your best self.
That's good. Oh, that's good advice. Tonya, where can folks reach you? We're going to link it, but after this, I know there are going to be many comments and questions and wanting to dive deeper. How can people reach out to you?
Well, you can always contact me through my website, www.mbsfood.com. That's MBS, meaning mind, body, soul. Mind, body, soul food. So, or Tonya, my name, Tonya at mbsfood.com. So those are some ways folks can connect with me. They can connect with me via Facebook as Tonya Parker. And I have a group on Facebook called Witch, Women in Tune with Conscious Healing. That's a term that came forth for one of my books that I wrote some years ago, Diary of a Witch's Daughter. So yeah, if you consider yourself a woman in tune with conscious healing, I'd love to have you in my community.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you, Tonya. This has been such a great episode. Thank you for being here, being a part of the Black Women's Wellness podcast and agency. We thank you all for listening to this episode. Continue to listen to our upcoming bi-weekly episodes. Subscribe, follow, like, and connect with us on our website, BWWA.com. We always want to hear from you. And so engage with us in the comments on our social media. We're very active across Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Our handle is at THEBWWAINC. And if you want to support Black women who are stressed, burnt out, overwhelmed, and working toward our healing, feel free. And we invite you to donate to the Black Women's Wellness Agency on our website. And until next time, stay well and remember, our wellness is infinite. Take care.